What's up YouTube? This is Ashley Jamerson coming to you from Ashley Lambert Realty right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is going to be the second video on my What If series. This series focuses on different things that can go wrong in a typical real estate transaction, whether you are buying or selling. And if you have any questions or you disagree with me, definitely leave comments below. You'll also find that awesome subscribe button and the bell, so don't forget to hit that, as well as my website, www.search704.com, so you can check out all the homes for sale, including foreclosures, new construction, etc., in the Charlotte surrounding areas. So let's get to it, guys. Today I'm going to focus on what if the seller will not fix anything from the home inspection, / what if I am the seller and I don't want to fix anything on that inspection. So this happens literally all the time. So it's one of those nail biters, just like the appraisal. When the inspection occurs, the seller typically wants to be there so they can know what to expect. The buyer is there, asking questions and seeing how important various items are. Every now and then the inspector will give a tip on how it can be fixed, how much it will cost to get it fixed, just to keep the buyer grounded in reality. But buyer and seller should know that in the North Carolina real estate contract or offer to purchase and contract, every single house on the market that you see is sold as is. Now, every now and then the listing agent will put severe or really emphasize that it's sold as is and that the seller will not fix anything. So definitely keep that in mind if you are buying a house where the selling agent or the listing agent took that extra time to put that emphasis there. But also know that every single house you see on the market is sold as is. So if you do a home inspection and something needs to be fixed, it is up to the buyer and seller to negotiate. There is a form for that because obviously it happens all the time. If something comes up in the appraisal, check out the video I did on what if the house does not appraise, and that'll give you some tips on how to deal with that. But right now we're focusing specifically on what if the house has things that need to be done and the seller is like, I'm not doing it. Okay, so we've already covered that the house is sold as is. The next question you should think about as a buyer or seller is that item in working order? So let's say that the inspector says that the HVAC is old. Well, is it working? You know, the water heater is old. Is it working? Is it doing the function in which it was intended to do? Is it working? It doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but is it working? Typically a seller will not replace or repair something unless it's broken, not working, literally on its last breath. Like we had to jiggle the thing to turn it on in order for it to work, or we had to wait for the gas fireplace, wait 2 hours, and then finally the pilot light came on and it lit, or something like that. So is it in working order? Is it super important? Is it cosmetic? If there's various kinds of cracks, if it's a nail pop or a settling crack versus a foundation crack or a structural issue. If it's just cosmetic, is that something you can rock with? I don't typically let my buyers ask for what I call petty items. And petty items, I mean, they are important. You want the house to be as amazing as possible. But if it came down to painting a bedroom versus fixing the water heater, definitely ask for fixing the water heater. If it came down to installing the anti-tilt device on the back of the stove or fixing a pipe, definitely fix the pipe, because that's water damage, and an anti-tilt thingy on the stove costs no more than $10, and then maybe 30 minutes and another YouTube video on how to install it to get it in there. So you definitely have to weigh your options. I don't like to make the repair request super duper long because that overwhelms the seller, and they may pick the items that are not super important to you to fix instead of the items that are super important to you. So that's just some things to keep in mind. So what you can do, obviously I'm a realtor. Number one is you can get the repairs completed prior to closing, and then you can have the seller pay the invoice at closing. That is an option that I use a lot if the seller does not have the money to make the repairs, or they being the buyer and seller have decided to split the difference and then pay it at closing. The only thing is that you have to get that contractor on board to front the cost of labor, front the cost of material, and pray that it closes, because if it doesn't close, then the buyer and or the seller will be on the hook for the cost of those repairs. So that's one option that you have. The second option is you can adjust the price. So let's say that the house is listed for $270 and there's about $4,000 in repairs, and they're not appraiser required repairs, appraisal required repairs, then you can lower the price possibly to like $266 to cover that $4,000. I like to present invoices before I make any decisions regarding price, because that invoice is what will be paid, and that is the price that we're working off of when it comes to any type of price adjustments. The third and final option that you really have is termination. And I know that like freaks people out because they're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my due diligence money and things like that. But if it's a huge item, like the roof is actively leaking, the water heater is actively leaking or broken or rusted out, or the HVAC is not working, and the seller is not willing to do anything, then it's best to walk away, because those items cost thousands of dollars, and it's okay to lose that due diligence money and find a house that is more move-in ready. Again, especially if you have an FHA or VA loan and these are like appraisal required items. So if you have any questions about what if the seller will not fix anything when it comes to being under contract, definitely leave those comments and questions below. I'll definitely get to them and answer them. If you are searching for a home in the Charlotte area, check out my website, search704.com, and I will talk to you soon in the next video. Bye.